This video is about happiness. Specifically, this is the introduction to my full-length premium program, 7 Steps to Happiness. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about how the study of spirituality and learning the technology of identifying and clearing subconscious blocks can help you to be happier every moment of every day for the whole rest of your life. So if you're interested, keep watching. You're in the right place. I am Brent Phillips. I am the author of this program, and I'm going to talk to you for just a couple minutes before we get into the meat of it. So a couple things I want you to know. First of all, I am a software engineer and a scientist, right? I never meant to be a woo-woo person. I'll talk more a little later about my story, but I experienced a horrific life meltdown in my 20s and met a healer and experienced a miracle that gave me my life back. And I've spent the last 20 plus years devoting all this big brain of science and engineering to understanding the masters, reverse engineering, energy healing, higher consciousness, law of attraction, prayer, these sorts of things, right? With the goal of creating a simple, no-nonsense system of powerful tools that regular people just like you and me can use to change our lives. This specifically is my major product release, 7 Steps to Happiness. And I want to talk to you for just a couple minutes about what it is and how you can get the most value out of it. Remember, this is the introduction to the program. So if you're here, great. This is the thing you want to watch first, right? After you finish this, I'm going to be releasing to my YouTube channel all 7 steps over the next 7 weeks, 1 a week. And you're going to be getting the full uncut versions of all 7 steps right here on YouTube. So make sure you click like and subscribe if you haven't already. Take a moment, smash that button, right? Hit the little bell so you get notifications. Awesome. Very cool. And I wanted to talk to you just a little bit about what this program is and how you can get the most value out of it. So this is, again, the introduction to 7 Steps to Happiness. This is a full-length premium program, meaning for me, I have not released anything in over 4 years. This is it. It took me over 4 years and a small fortune to create this. And my major programs, including this one, are always divided into 2 halves. Half for the conscious mind, half for the subconscious mind. Why? That's what works. If you only address the conscious mind, your results won't be as good. You'll get some, but they'll be less, right? If you only address the subconscious mind, you'll get some results, but not as much. I want to do both. So we have half the program, which is lectures. That's all the content for your conscious mind. Ideas, paradigms, tricks, tips, secrets, solutions, processes, right? All that's in the conscious piece. The second half of the program is for the subconscious. They have encoded subconscious block clearings. I have a really cool technology I've developed called the Formula for Miracles technology. It's a patent pending process of encoding audios so they will actually clear subconscious blocks just by listening. Really cool technology. And so what you're getting right here on YouTube is all 7 steps, the lecture programs uncut for free. And here's how it worked. I was planning on releasing this through your typical online funnel, right? I was going to build a webinar and a sales page and emails and chatbots and Facebook ads and all that stuff, right? That's a part of my business. And this is my only major release in over 4 years. So this is a big deal to me. But when I was going to release it, I decided to change course. I'm not going to sell it through a funnel for $400. I'm going to give you over half of it for free through YouTube. And if you really like what you're getting for free, I think it would be awesome if you want to buy the rest of it, but no pressure, right? So you're getting all 7 steps, all the lectures, uncut, everything for the conscious mind right here for free. This is the introduction, right? Listen to this first. After this, I'm going to be releasing all 7 steps, 1 video a week. And you will get all of it, right? All 7 steps, everything for the conscious mind. What I'm not giving you for free on YouTube is the second half of the program, which is for the subconscious. Specifically, they are subconscious clearing programs created with an audio technology. It's a patent pending process I call the Formula for Miracles technology. And it's this really cool technique I developed where I can clear your subconscious blocks just by having you listen to audios. So that is not included here because there's a lot more setup and training required. If you enjoy the free part and you want to get the full program, that would be awesome. I would greatly appreciate it. I think you'll love it. It also has some other bonuses like the trauma clearing program you can use, a lot of other cool stuff. It's got copies of my ebooks, trial coupons for my members program, lots of cool stuff. But don't worry about that. If you ever decide you want to check out the full version, just go to the description. There it is. So last thing I want to tell you before we jump into it is that this was originally developed as an audio program. And so we have little videos I've made for the beginning and the end, like I'm talking to you right now. This is going to go away in a minute. The majority of the intro and the 7 steps is an audio program. That's how I developed it, right? But I'm going to put something here for you to look at. So you'll see some static slides and some stock footage. Just know there's not much to see. It's meant to listen to. So if you want to watch, that's fine. But if you're just listening, if you're on a walk, riding the bike at the gym, whatever, that's fine. It's intended just to listen to. All right, so that's all I got to say for right now. Would love it if you let me know feedback. What do you think of this? Is this helping you? Are you learning something? Are you becoming happier? Let me know in the comments. I'm going to strive to personally respond to every single comment. So here we go. This is the introduction to 7 Steps to Happiness. Hello, I'm Brent Michael Phillips, and welcome to 7 Steps to Happiness. This is the long introduction to the program where we're going to cover everything you need to know step by step to get the most value and benefits out of what you're listening to. We're going to start off by talking a little about my background and how I get into this. Then I'm going to explain to you how the subconscious mind works and how we can use the process of energy healing through a conscious theta brainwave to go in and make direct changes in the subconscious. I'll explain muscle testing, and we'll do a quick tutorial on the standing method of muscle testing. I'm then going to give you the instructions on how to use the patent pending formula for miracle encoded block clearing audios that will automatically clear your subconscious blocks just by listening to them. And then we'll finish off with some next steps. So let's jump right into it. I think it's important that you know just a little bit about me and my background so you can understand where I'm coming from and how I learned this and why this is going to be so valuable and so transformative for you. And so the first thing I'll admit is I never thought I'd be doing anything like this. To be a spiritual teacher, a professional healer, to be a certified master of energy work, never in a million years would I have thought I would do that. Because really, if you knew me as a kid or as a young man, I'm a huge nerd. I grew up loving Star Wars and Star Trek and Dungeons and Dragons and video games and all that kind of stuff. Some of you may have beaten me up a little bit in high school. And when it came time to go to college, it was an easy choice for me because I wanted to be a master of software. Because it was the one thing I was good at that I thought I could make a living at doing. And so I ended up in college at MIT. And at MIT, I discovered the internet. Now, of course, nowadays that sounds ridiculous. But back in the 80s, almost nobody had heard about the internet. And so long story short, I made the internet and networking computers the focus of my studies. I graduated MIT at the top of my class with Phi Beta Kappa honors. I continued on to graduate school at MIT, where I got my master's degree working as part of the Telemedia Networks and Systems group under Professor Tenenhaus. And long story short, I am one of the people that literally created the foundations of the modern internet. In fact, in 1994, it was me and others in my research group that sent the first ever live audio and video over the web. And so when I was working on my PhD, the internet boom hit. Long story short, I left MIT, moved to California, and recruited my lifelong best friend to start internet companies, figuring, heck, I'll work really hard for a couple of years, we'll sell one of these companies for millions of dollars, and by the time I'm 30, I'll retire as a multimillionaire and spend my days hot tubbing with supermodels on some awesome tropical island. Well, it was a good plan, but it didn't quite work out that way. Though we had a great start. Did you know that the very first website I ever created in my life was actually the website for the launch of the Sony PlayStation in the summer of 1995? That was my first website. That was what started this company. Within a year, I had 15 people working for me, and we had a whole laundry list of Fortune 500 clients. We did the first website for Disneyland. We did a website for Nissan Motors. We did websites for several different divisions of Sony. And really, it seemed like the sky was the limit. But there was a dirty little secret. And it was this. I was working my butt off. I was working 60, 80, sometimes 100 hours a week to make it all work. And I figured it was worth sacrificing a couple years of my youth because I would turn around and make millions of dollars, but that's not what happened.
Instead, after a couple years of this brutal punishing schedule, because I worked 12, 14, 16-hour days, 7 days a week, year round, no breaks, no holidays, no vacations, nothing like that, no weekends, my health started to break down. It started with some stiffness in my wrist, but very quickly turned into pretty severe pain. And at first I didn't panic because I figured, well, what the heck? I've had problems with my health before. I'll just go to the doctor and they'll be able to take care of me. And so I started a 3-year journey into conventional medicine. I went to physical therapy. I got ergonomic equipment. I went through movement retraining. I saw orthopedists and had nerve conduction tests and all this stuff. Long story short, with 3 years of intensive physical therapy, and I'm talking 3-hour sessions 3 times a week, I didn't get better. I got worse. It got so bad that I had to move in with my parents because some days I was in so much pain, I needed my mother to help me cut my food. I had only about a 15-minute drive to work, but a lot of days I had to pull over and rest in the middle because it was too painful for me to hold a steering wheel for 15 minutes at a time. So this wasn't just some tingle in my wrist. This was constant, chronic, severe pain that wrecked my life. And so after 3 years of intensive therapy, I finally got an appointment to see the head doctor at Kerlan Jobe, which is the top physical therapy clinic in Los Angeles where all the Olympians and professional athletes go. And I was so excited because I thought, well, heck, if anybody knows what to do with this guy, he'll have the solution. And so long story short, I walked into his office. I saw he had my medical records spread out in front of him. And he looked at me and just said, well, I'm sorry, son, but there's nothing I or any doctor can do for you. You're always going to be in pain and you'll never be able to work again. Tell me, son, is there someone that can take care of you until you die? And I was so stunned, I literally couldn't say anything. On the way out, his secretary had the gall to tell me, oh, Mr. Phillips, you're so lucky. The doctor has recommended that you go on permanent disability. But please don't come back here, because we can't be wasting any of our scarce resources on impossible cases like yours. And so that was devastating. I was told by one of the top doctors in the country that there was no chance I could ever recover or get back to living or working without constant pain. And so when I told my best friend and business partner this, I figured he'd be all, hey, Brent, this sucks, but we're going to get through this together. I got your back, buddy. No, it was the opposite. He said, well, that sucks, but you've been a declining asset for a few years. So he executed these really underhanded legal maneuvers to fire me from the company I had founded. He then took the company and sold it for millions of dollars behind my back. And I found myself at 27 years of age being consigned to permanent disability, being told by the best doctors I had no chance of ever recovering or living without constant pain. I had invested all the money and years of my life into this company. And oh yeah, on top of all that, I also had lost my lifelong best friend, and I had a terrible heartbreak. And so I was depressed, I was angry, I was even suicidal. I started drinking a lot, using drugs, but fortunately, I had a friend of mine who pulled me out of it and said, hey, Brent, when life has really got you down, that's when we need positive thinking. And so I got really into positive thinking. I started going to a couple positive thinking seminars. I put power words on my walls. I said my mantras 108 times every day because someone told me if you do that, it has to come true. And I did all this stuff. So long story short, I was gung-ho into positive thinking. And nowadays we call it the law of attraction. Back in the 90s, we called it positive thinking, but it's the same stuff. Long story short, it didn't do anything for me. It didn't help my pain. It didn't recover my health. It didn't get me a job. I wasn't making money. So I threw it all in the trash and got depressed again. Luckily, I had another friend of mine turn me on to alternative medicine. He said, hey, Brent, the doctors don't know everything. Maybe you should try alternative medicine. And so I was open-minded enough and desperate enough to give it a shot. And so I went all out into alternative medicine. I spent the next 5 years essentially as a full-time patient living off my disability benefits in my parents' extra room, trying to get my health back. I did acupuncture, I took herbs, I did cleanses, I went to osteopaths and chiropractors, I did yoga, I did special diets, I had all these crazy healing devices. I mean, you name it, I tried it. Electric stims, vibration machines, chi machines, all this stuff. Nothing worked for me. And not only did I not get better, I got worse and worse over time. And just so you know, I later discovered some of the reasons for that. One of the reasons was I had chronic Lyme disease. Another was I was suffering from chemical poisoning from aspartame. But none of the alternative stuff worked for me either, and it was so frustrating. All I did was spend 5 years and run up a gigantic tab over $100,000 spent trying to get better. At the end of those 5 years, I agreed to have an experimental surgery because I found a doctor who thought it could help me. And I was totally desperate, so I said yes. And long story short, when I woke up from the surgery, things got even worse. After the surgery, it had been botched and my right arm was paralyzed. I couldn't move it at all. And so this was a whole new level of disability and pain. Long story short, I spent 4 months and all these different things to try to get my arm working again. I wore Dynasplints at night. I had manipulations under local anesthetic. I even had another surgery. But my arm still wouldn't move. And that's when I went to see this crazy healer lady named Terry. And I didn't do anything at first because I had been to lots of healers. I had done all sorts of Reiki healing and pranic healing and stuff like that. And honestly, it just seemed like a waste of time and money. But I was desperate, so I made an appointment and I saw Terry. Long story short, she showed me this thing called muscle testing, explained to me that, Brent, she said, you're full of subconscious blocks. All the physical therapy in the world won't help you until we clear them. And she asked me all these questions about God and what had happened to me growing up and what had happened with my best friend and my first marriage that didn't work out and all these things. And I'm just thinking, hey, lady, I'm not here to talk about my feelings. I'm here because I can't move my arm and I'm in pain. But I went with the process. And after about an hour of this, she said, okay, Brent, now we're going to take care of your arm. And I'm like, sure, lady, go crazy, right? And I'm sitting there looking out the window thinking about what I want to pick up for lunch on the way home. And then Terry closed her eyes and went into some kind of trance. And about a minute later, something really weird happened. There was a loud crack and I felt something pop inside my elbow, like a little firecracker. And I was all, whoa. And Terry opened her eyes and said, okay, dear, try your arm. And I did. And I was like, oh my God, I could move my arm again. It was like the surgery never happened. And that was the miracle that hooked me into this. And in that moment, I found my path in life. And I said something like, hey, Terry, I don't know what you just did here, but I have to learn it. And she was all, no problem, Brent, there's a training coming up. And so long story short, I devoted myself to learning, mastering, and practicing energy healing. And so long story short, I spent a lot of money and a lot of time over a lot of years learning from some really amazing teachers, some incredibly gifted spiritual teachers, intuitives, healers, and such. But here's the thing, I wasn't very good at it because I was so stuck in my head. And so I took a different approach. I didn't really have much of a natural talent for this, but I did have a world-class education and background in science and engineering. And so long story short, I reverse engineered the masters. I figured out what it was they were doing and put together the pieces and got it to work. But it wasn't easy. And it wasn't like, oh, I had one session and all my problems were solved. Not at all. I went through all sorts of hell even after the instant healing happened, the first miracle. I got involved with an investment fraud and went bankrupt. I lost everything. I suffered the worst heartbreak of my life in my late 30s. I had cancer. I was suffered from migraine headaches for a year and a half. I had several people close to me die. My father, which is understandable, everyone tends to lose their parents at some point, but I also lost one of my close friends to a drug overdose. I lost a girlfriend to a drunk driving accident where she was killed. So I went through a lot of stuff, and it took me years and years of work until I discovered my second teacher and mentor, Carl. He taught me about the quantum field. He showed me how to embody these things. And with the combination of what I learned from Terry and Carl, only then did my life really start to take off. Only then did I really start to recover my health, to heal my body, to clear the pain, to find love, to start a family, to really start living this good life. And it wasn't easy. Again, it took me a lot of work over a lot of years, but I did it. And that's what I want to share with you. And I've experienced some incredible miracles along the way. One of the most significant was my mother, who was diagnosed with clear cell endometrial cancer, which is a death sentence. I did just 40 minutes of healing with her on the phone, and all of the dangerous cancer disappeared from her body. Her doctor could not believe it, but that really happened. It literally saved her life. Even more important to me than that was when my wife, JJ, was pregnant with our son, she had a silent bleed in the middle of the night. And you don't really know fear until you've rushed a pregnant woman to the hospital at 3 a.m. because she's bleeding uncontrollably. And long story short, they told me that it was about 80-20 on saving the mother's life, but they said there's very little chance for your son. And so I called my healer friends and we all did healings. And somehow, again, the doctors were amazed. They couldn't believe it. The tear in her womb sealed and the womb refilled with fluid. And my son stayed in for another 6 weeks. It was literally a miracle that saved his life. So there's just a couple of the incredible things I've seen happen with this system. And so it's interesting. Around 2012, I finally experienced my own awakening. And I had to redo my whole curriculum, everything I was teaching, because awakening was such a significant part of that. And I'll be sharing some of that with you here in this program, 7 Steps to Happiness. And so I learned to see energy and auras with my open eyes. I learned to see past lives, how to read energy, how to dissolve pain, how to move into higher consciousness on demand by tuning into what we call the quantum field. But just for me, happiness was the most difficult nut to crack. Really, it took me, after I had that first miracle with Terry, it took maybe 5 to 7 years to heal my body and get out of pain. It took me about 10 years to find love. It took me maybe 12 years to really start to make money at a much higher level consistently to transform my prosperity. But the hardest of all of them for me was happiness. That took me over 20 years. But now, 20 years into the game, I'm ready to share with you what I've learned. I think I finally cracked the code. And that's what this program is for. 7 steps that everybody can take to become happier all the time, every day, for the whole rest of your life, no matter what is happening around you. So enough about me. Now let's talk about what's in the program. So the main body of the program is a set of 14 MP3 audios. There's 7 presentations and 7 block clearing audios, one for each of the 7 steps to happiness. So again, 7 steps to happiness. Each step has a lecture presentation program as well as a block clearing audio. And I'll give you some instructions on how to use them. To use the presentations is simple. Just listen. I don't care how you listen or where you listen, just listen. I would encourage you not to do more than 1 a day, only because they are densely packed with insights and revelations and secrets. And so if you really want to jam through all the presentations right away on the first day, great, go for it. I would just encourage you to circle back and do them more slowly, just because it will be easier for you to retain and integrate the lessons and insights if you go at a little slower pace. Now, the block clearing audios, that's a little different thing. There are some specific instructions you need. And so they are encoded with what are called binaural beats. And long story short, if you listen to these block clearing audios with headphones, any kind of headphones will do. You can get fancy headphones you use to listen to music. You can use your earbuds or your AirBuds or whatever. I don't care. As long as you have headphones on, it will bring you into a waking theta state when you listen. And you simply follow the instructions. And by going through the block clearing audios, we will clear over 300 common blocks to happiness from your subconscious mind. It's really a wonderful technology. We don't need to nerd out with any of the technical speak, but it uses a patent pending encoding to take you into a waking theta state. And so some instructions on how to use it. The number one thing, again, is to make sure you listen with headphones. You'll miss out on the theta wave entrainment if you don't use headphones. Secondly, limit yourself to at most 1 block clearing program per day. The reason is, with the block clearing audios, we're doing some heavy lifting in your subconscious. And you don't want to overwhelm yourself by doing too much at once. It's kind of like going to the gym. If you're out of shape and you go to the gym for the first time in years, please don't go do a really intense 3-hour workout. You're going to be so sore you can't get out of bed for a week. That's not helpful. You want to take it slow and build up. So same thing here. I also encourage you to stay well hydrated. Make sure you drink plenty of extra water before, doing, and after the block clearing audios, because you need to be well hydrated to do the muscle testing, which we'll talk about in a minute. And additionally, the better hydrated you are, the less chance you'll have a healing crisis reaction, because we are making some major changes in your subconscious. And it may be the equivalent of going to the gym and working out and getting sore. There's also in the program an overview document. It's a PDF that has the instructions for the program as well as a list of all the blocks and downloads that the block clearing programs go through. I would strongly encourage you to print it out and keep it handy when you go through the block clearing audios. And here's how it's going to work. As you go through the block clearing audios, it starts with a 5-minute glide. In other words, it takes about 5 minutes for your brain to get into the theta state. And I'm just going to talk to you during the first 5 minutes and go through the instructions. After about 5 minutes, your brain is ready for block clearings. And the main body of the block clearing audios, I will lead you through a process of reading a belief out loud, doing the muscle test, checking the result, and then a process of clearing if you need it. And so we're going to talk about muscle testing next, but just know for right now, if the block clears immediately, you're all set. If for whatever reason some of them don't clear instantly, don't panic. Just put a check next to it on your printout, and then give yourself overnight. If you sleep on it, a lot of the times the integration occurs in your subconscious and it will clear on its own the next day. And so run it again the next day and see if it cleared. If it didn't, then you break out the big gun, which is the trauma clearing program. That's an additional bonus included here. And so that's the big gun you roll out for the blocks that don't clear. And we'll talk about how to use the trauma clearing program in a couple of minutes. So that's pretty much all you need to know to get off and running with the block clearing audios. In addition to the overview document, the 14 main body, the 7 presentations and 7 block clearings, there's also the short and long introductions, and you're listening to the long introduction right now. Also included in your 7 Steps to Happiness package is my Secrets of Muscle Testing training video. I would encourage you to go through that if you're having any difficulty with muscle testing or you're new to it. Now, we're going to give you a quick tutorial and explanation right here on the long intro. But just so you know, we're going to go fast. So if you're having any trouble with muscle testing or you want to learn about other methods or the theory or troubleshooting, go to the Secrets of Muscle Testing video and go through it. It is a treasure trove of everything you're ever going to need to know about muscle testing. You'll also see that included in your program is the trauma clearing encoded audio. That is your big gun. And the trauma clearing is encoded with the same patent pending binaural beat technology that we use in the block clearing audios. And it will guide you step by step on how to clear any trauma or block out of your subconscious. Now remember, that's your big gun. I wouldn't recommend using it for every block because it will take way too long. Use the block clearing audios first and just make a note of the ones that don't clear. And if they still haven't cleared after a sleep cycle or 2, then run the trauma clearing program on that block. That will clear it pretty close to 100%. And so I want to give you all the tools you're going to need, all the training, all the information and support so you can make the most out of this program and have the biggest impact on your life. The last thing that's included in your 7 Steps to Happiness is a PDF with some special offers. I would strongly encourage you, go register, get yourself a free ticket to my Healathon live webinar, where we're going to do things that cannot be encoded onto a program. I will entrain you into the quantum field so you can experience higher consciousness for yourself. Many people start to see energy and auras with their open eyes for the first time on the Healathon. In addition, during the Healathons, I offer free healings to everybody that attends. So you don't want to miss out. In fact, you might want to pause the program right now, go click the link, and register yourself for the next live Healathon webinar so you don't forget or miss out. All right, so now let's switch gears. I want to talk to you a little bit about the nature of the mind, in particular the subconscious mind, and why it's so important to get in to not only change your conscious thoughts, but also the subconscious beliefs or programs. And so I'm sure you've heard about what we call the law of attraction or positive thinking. And they'll tell you that if you think positively and join a mastermind and say your mantras or make a vision board or something, that somehow magically you're going to make millions of dollars and heal your body and find love and be happy for the rest of your life. Nonsense. It's not that simple. Now, let's be clear, I'm not opposed to those things. All of those things can be useful tools. But for most of us, making money is not nearly as simple as watching some video and saying some mantras. No, you're going to have to work at it. And there's actually been studies done on the law of attraction that show that over 99% of people that use the conventional law of attraction teachings fail. They feel they get few or no results. So that's awful. Why in the world would we be using something that has a 99% failure rate? Well, it's simple. It feels true to us. There is truth in the law of attraction, but it's not that simple. In order to really activate the law of attraction and finally see results, whether it's for health or money or happiness or love or whatever you like, you got to get into the subconscious. And the reason is simple. Over 90%, sometimes 99% of your life is created unconsciously. In other words, you really are creating every experience in your life, but this subconscious is doing it. You're not aware of how it happens. And so the real truth of life is that we all act like computers. You have a program inside of you for every part of your life. You literally have a program inside of you for how much money you're going to make, for what kind of physical health you have, your emotional health, your level of intuition, your sense of purpose, even your happiness is coded into your subconscious. So if you want to see a permanent shift in your happiness or health or wealth or anything else, you got to learn to get into the subconscious, because your body is like the hardware and your subconscious mind is the software. And earlier I mentioned that we have a thermostat for happiness. That's a really important concept. Your level of happiness is literally coded into your subconscious. And I'm sure you've noticed this. Some people tend to be happy and optimistic and looking forward to life even when there are really difficult or painful circumstances. Other people seem to be constantly miserable, no matter how many good things are going on around them. What's the difference? It's simple. They're running different programs in the subconscious mind. And no amount of Herculean positive thinking or willpower is going to be able to overcome that. So we got to get into the code. Your subconscious mind is literally the source code that creates everything that happens in your life. I like to think of it as the software of your soul. And so you have a thermostat for happiness. Maybe it's say on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe it's a 3, maybe it's a 5, maybe it's an 8. But have you noticed that people tend to be about the same amount happy no matter what's going on in their life? That sure, we all get pulled down by trauma or accidents or loss or pain. But if you're naturally happy, you will bounce back. You won't stay stuck in misery forever. On the flip side, many of us know people, maybe you're like this, I used to be like this, who seem to be miserable and find the dark side of life no matter what's happening. Even when they have a lot of great stuff going on, even if they're making money and they're healthy and they're in a relationship and all these things. What's the difference? Simple. It's literally programmed into your subconscious mind. And so how do we change it? How do you get in and change the source code of your life to become happier no matter what for the whole rest of your life? Well, there's really two things we need to know. Number one, we need a way to communicate with your subconscious. We need a way to identify the code, to find the subconscious belief systems you are holding. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you a quick explanation and tutorial of muscle testing right now in this long introduction. There's also the hour-long Secrets of Muscle Testing video included with the 7 Steps to Happiness if you need a deeper, more sophisticated presentation and coverage of muscle testing. So we got you covered. So long story short, muscle testing is how we communicate directly with the subconscious mind and find out exactly what code you're running. Then once we found what's in your code, then we have to change it. So how do we change the code? Well, short version is we need to get you into a waking theta brain state and then use different techniques of energy healing to make the shift. And so there's a lot of ways you can do that. One of the ways that you can do it is you could book a one-on-one private session with me or one of my students, and we could do that with you. Another way is you could attend one of my live block clearing programs, like I do in the Wealth Club through my online members program, the VIP Club, where I will walk you through a group process of clearing your blocks in real time. A great way is to come to my Secrets of Higher Dimensional Living weekend intensive. I will show you how to do this so you can do these block clearings and downloads and healings anytime you want for the whole rest of your life. But the way we're going to do it right now with the 7 Steps to Happiness does not require you to do a private session or to attend a live group or any kind of training. We're going to use the patent pending formula for miracle technology that puts a special encoding on the audios called binaural beats that what it does is when you listen to it, it brings you into a waking theta state. And the theta state is the brainwave we go into at night when we're asleep and dreaming, in what's called RAM, or rapid eye movement sleep. And so by using the special encoding, we kind of trick your brain into thinking you're asleep when you're actually awake. And this is so critical because that puts you into the theta brainwave. It's like this magical key that opens your subconscious mind, that allows us to go in and change the software of your soul, to clear your subconscious blocks, to reprogram you for success and health and wealth and love and a higher level of happiness. And so put together, the lecture presentations on the 7 Steps to Happiness plus the block clearing programs are a really potent combination, because the lecture presentations will give you the truth about happiness, about the nature of the self and God and life, and give you all the knowledge and tools and insights you need to become happier. But putting the information and knowledge into your conscious mind alone may not do the trick. So each of the 7 Steps to Happiness has both a lecture presentation program for the conscious mind, as well as a block clearing encoded audio for the subconscious mind. So as you go through these 7 steps, listen to the presentation. That will give you all the knowledge, information, insights, and secrets on how to become happier. Then listen to the block clearing program and follow the instructions. That will clear your subconscious blocks and literally reprogram your subconscious mind for a higher level of happiness just by listening. So now I want to circle back and talk a little more about muscle testing. And so muscle testing, also known as applied kinesiology, is the way that we bypass the conscious mind to get a direct line of communication straight to your subconscious mind. This is how we find out what code you're running. The code we call beliefs, or more specifically, subconscious beliefs. And with the proper use of muscle testing, you can find out very quickly and easily what beliefs you do and do not hold in your subconscious mind. But before we get into the details of muscle testing, I want to emphasize, please do not think you know what's in your subconscious. Nobody does. A large amount of your subconscious beliefs, probably at least half of them, were inherited from your ancestors through the DNA. And so you carry every single experience of all of your ancestors back at least 7 generations coded into your subconscious mind through the DNA. So you may check blocks that you think, oh, sure, I don't have that. Check it anyway. So that's the point. Don't think you know what's in your subconscious mind. Nobody does. We need to use the muscle testing. It's really the only reliable and accurate way to see what's in there. So how does muscle testing work? Well, there's a lot of different ways we can do muscle testing or applied kinesiology. If you've been to a holistic doctor or a chiropractor or a healer, they may have pushed on your arm. That's a form of muscle testing. If you've heard about the dowsers, which are the people that take the little forked rods and go off into the desert to look for water, that's a form of muscle testing. Using a pendulum, a handheld pendulum, is yet another form of muscle testing. And long story short, they're all ways to see what beliefs we hold in the subconscious mind. That's what muscle testing does. And so you make a statement and you run your muscle test. It will give you one result if your subconscious agrees with the statement, if you hold that belief, if you have that code. It will give a different result if you do not have it. And so if you want a detailed coverage of muscle testing, please check the Secrets of Muscle Testing video that's included in your 7 Steps to Happiness package. What I'm going to do right now is give you a quick explanation and tutorial on what's called the standing method. This is the method I use with most of my clients and students because it's the one kind of muscle testing that almost everybody can use right away and start using it and getting results within minutes without needing to spend a lot of time practicing and training. And so the standing test is a form of pendulum test, where what we're really doing is turning your whole body into a pendulum. And this is how it works. When you stand up and face to the north, that aligns you with the Earth's magnetic field. And so when you make a statement out loud, if your subconscious mind agrees with that statement, if it holds that belief, if it has that code, the electrical and magnetic field around your body actually becomes stronger. And this is not just some new age concept. This is science and math, people. This can be measured with sensitive electrical equipment. On the flip side, if you make a statement that your subconscious disagrees with, if you do not hold that code of belief in your subconscious, then your field weakens. And so, as an example, if I stand up and face to the north and say I am a man, my body, my subconscious agrees with that because I hold that code. I hold that belief in my subconscious. And so the field around my body will become stronger, and I will actually feel myself tilt or push forward towards the north. That's your body saying, yes, I agree with that. I hold that belief. On the flip side, if I stand up and say I am a woman, my body is going to say no. My subconscious does not agree with that. And so my field weakens, and I will feel myself subtly tilt or push backwards towards the south. So that's really all there is to it in theory. You make a statement out loud. If your subconscious agrees with it, if you hold that belief, you're going to tilt forward towards the north. If your subconscious disagrees with it, if it says, no, I do not hold that belief, you're going to tilt backwards towards the south. Now let me talk you through it. It's a pretty easy thing, and most people will be able to start doing self-muscle testing and checking your own subconscious beliefs in a matter of just a few minutes. So before we get into the details of how to do it, I want to prepare you. The most important thing to help you do clear muscle testing is to be well hydrated. So if you aren't well hydrated, if you don't frequently and routinely drink at least a few liters of water every day, please pause this program. Go get yourself a big glass or bottle of water and drink as much as you can comfortably until you're better hydrated. Because 90% of muscle testing is simple dehydration. And so once you go through the program, when you use the block clearings, remember this. You'll want to drink plenty of water both before, during, and after the block clearings. It will make your muscle testing much easier, much faster, and you'll get much clearer results. A second block and obstacle that we have to muscle testing is demineralization. So many of us are deficient in minerals because of our modern diet, too many processed foods, not enough organic, locally sourced materials. Even if you eat a good diet, you may not have enough minerals. So if you're well hydrated and you're still having trouble with muscle testing, you may want to get yourself some minerals. Personally, I prefer ionic or colloidal form minerals, which means they're in liquid form, because they're much easier for the body to absorb. And so you can go on to Amazon or your local health food store or wherever, get yourself some minerals, put it in your water, drink it down. And for many people, your muscle testing should start working like magic. All right, so let's get into it. I'm going to walk you through right now the standing muscle test. So here's what we do. First, stand up and face to the north. If you have no idea which way north is, pause the program. Go ask someone or look at the sun or check a map, or even smartphones usually have a compass app that you can download and use. All right, so if you're still listening, you're standing up and facing north. Now I want you to put your feet about shoulder width apart. That's what works best for most people. Now I want you to look down at your toes and make sure they're pointed straight forward. In the training, that's Secrets for Higher Dimensional Living, we go into a lot more detail about muscle testing and how it works and how to adjust that. But for right now, for most people, you're going to get the clearest, best result with your toes pointed straight forward. Now, the last thing, it's a detail, but this is one of the most important things to get a good muscle test result. I want you to make sure there's little or no bending your knees. You want your legs to be as straight as possible. But please, do not use a lot of effort or tension. Don't lock up. Just stand as tall as you can in a comfortable posture with straight legs. This is important because if your knees are bent, that puts you into a very strong and stable posture. That's great if you're a boxer or a wrestler or an athlete or something, but it's terrible for muscle testing because if you're in a really strong, stable posture with your knees bent, you will not feel the subtle forces of magnetism we're working with. You'll feel nothing happen. So that's why I say stand tall. Have your legs as straight as you can with no bending your knees. But again, please do not use excess rigidity or tension. Stay relaxed. And you should feel a little bit unstable. That's exactly what we want. It should feel that if someone gave you a little push from behind, you'd move forward easily. That's perfect. That makes you very sensitive to the subtle push of the magnetism. Because when we do this, the magnetic push and pull is subtle. It's not going to feel like someone shoving you. So we want to stand in that tall, relaxed position with our legs straight. That makes us maximally sensitive to the subtle push of the magnetism. That being said, please use common sense. If you have injuries or disabilities that make it unstable or unsafe for you to stand like that, please don't. There's other methods you can learn that don't involve standing or balancing, and those are covered on the Secrets of Muscle Testing video. It's just that most of them take more time and practice to get good at. All right, so if you're still with me, let's do it. I want you to stand up again, face north, feet about shoulder width apart, toes straight forward, legs straight without bending your knees, and just say yes out loud. And you should feel your body start to push or fall forward. If you got it, great. You got it. You nailed it. If you didn't move at all, you might want to pause the program, go drink some more water, maybe take some minerals, do a little bit of troubleshooting. Now let's practice backwards. So again, stand up, face to the north, feet about shoulder width apart, toes straight forward, legs straight, and say no out loud. When you say no, your body should tilt or push backwards. And if you got it, you're all set. That's everything you need to know about muscle testing. You now know how to communicate with your subconscious mind anytime you want to ask it anything for the whole rest of your life. If you're not getting results, if you're struggling with it, if you're not sure, please go through the Secrets of Muscle Testing video. It has a much more detailed step-by-step approach to give you everything you need to know to get clear muscle testing results. And of course, if you already know a different method, if you already know how to test your fingers or the pendulum or the arm or something, you're welcome to use that. And so just remember, with the muscle testing, that's for the block clearing programs. You don't need it for the lecture presentations. So again, congratulations if you got results. You got it. You are able to communicate with your subconscious mind anytime you want for the whole rest of your life. Couple things you need to know. Number one, muscle testing reveals the beliefs held in the subconscious. That's all it does. It is not a pipeline to pure truth. I personally would never use muscle testing to decide where to go to eat or who to marry or what job to take or what city to live in. No, that's what intuition is for. Muscle testing only tells you the hidden belief systems in your subconscious mind. But that's the code that's creating your life. That's the code that sets your level of happiness, and that's why it's so important we learn to work with it. Second thing about muscle testing is, if you're having a lot of trouble with it, if you go through the video and you drink water and take minerals and you're still not getting it, skip it for now. It's better to go through the block clearing programs without muscle testing than to skip them entirely. Now, ideally, you're going to get the most benefit by going through the block clearing programs using the muscle testing. That will tell you exactly what blocks you have and exactly when they're cleared forever. So that's ideal. But again, if you're really struggling with it, it's better to go through it without them than to skip it entirely, because you will still get benefit in block clearing using the audios without the muscle testing. You will. The downside is you won't know which ones shifted and which ones didn't. You won't know which ones you might need to go to a deeper layer and run the trauma clearing on. That's really the only downside of not using the muscle testing. So it is strongly encouraged, but not absolutely required. So skip it if it's giving you lots of trouble, if you're getting frustrated. So now I want to give some instructions on how the block clearing programs work. You'll notice that the first 5 minutes of each block clearing program is me talking, giving you instructions. Even if you know what you're doing, please don't skip the first 5 minutes. There's a reason I give you the same instructions every time. It's because the first 5 minutes of the encoded program is known as what's called a glide. In other words, it takes your brain about 5 minutes to get down into the deep theta state that we need to do block clearings. So even if you know what you're doing, don't skip it. Listen to the first 5 minutes with headphones, because that's usually what it takes to get your brain into the theta state. So after the first 5 minutes, what's going to happen is I will guide you through the muscle testing and block clearing. And so I will give you a belief to repeat out loud. I'll say, please repeat and muscle test, I know how to be happy, as an example. I want you to repeat it out loud and run your muscle test. What form of muscle testing? Totally up to you. You can use the standing method if that works for you. If you know how to use your fingers or a pendulum or your arm, or you have a gadget, go for it. I don't care how you do it. Then your body will either say yes or no. And so your body or your pendulum or your muscles will either give you a yes result, which is usually strong or forward, or it will say no, which is weak or backwards. Remember, the yes result means yes, I hold that belief. The no means I do not. Then I will ask for your permission to change it. So if you don't need to change it, just skip that. Just chill for a second. If you do need the block clearing or download, say yes, and I will make the change. You'll notice that the block clearings are divided into two types, what we call downloads and what we call blocks. Downloads are the good beliefs, the good codes that you do not have in your subconscious. So if you say no to a download, if your test result says no, we install it for you. And it's called a download because it's just like putting new code on a computer. If you're missing a program on your computer or phone, you just download it from the internet and install it. So we put new beliefs, positive new programming into your subconscious through the downloads. A block is just the opposite. A block is a bad or limiting belief in the subconscious that we need to take out. So if you test yes to a block, we then need to clear it so it goes to no. And if you're confused, don't worry about it. Once you get into it, into the flow of it, it'll be really simple and obvious. And in the overview file, it says specifically what result you want for each download or block. So it's very easy once you get into it. Then after we've made the shift, I'm going to ask you to test it again. So as an example, I will say, please repeat in muscle test, I know how to be happy. So you do that. Say out loud, I know how to be happy. If your body says yes, you have that code, you're good. If it says no, we need to put it in. And give me permission, I will make the shift through the program using higher dimensional energy, and then have you rerun the muscle test. So you'll check again, I know how to be happy. At least 90% of the time, it will shift instantly and permanently. And then you're done with it. Move on to the next one. Occasionally, you may have one that doesn't shift instantly. In that case, put a check mark next to it on your printout. Give it overnight. Many of the blocks and downloads that don't take instantly will shift overnight when you sleep on it, and you have a sleep cycle to integrate the change into your subconscious. So wait until the next day and muscle test the ones that didn't shift. If it shifted overnight, great. Cross it out. You're done with it forever. You may have a few that still don't shift overnight. Those are the deeply held blocks. That's what the trauma clearing is for. So if you have some that don't shift even overnight, use the trauma clearing on those. It's a longer process. Each trauma clearing will take you maybe 20, 25 minutes, but it's a much more powerful thing. So that's your big gun you break out. Now, in theory, you could use the trauma clearing on every block on the list. It would work, but it would take a really long time. So I'd encourage you. So we're just going to be efficient and only use the big gun when we really need it. If you go through all 7 block clearing programs, it will do over 300 different block clearings and downloads for you. My expectation is just in a matter of seconds, almost all of them will shift. Maybe I have 30 or 40 that don't shift instantly. Of, say, those 30 that don't shift, probably 25 of them will shift automatically overnight. So out of 300 some block clearings and downloads, you might only have to run the trauma clearing 1 or 2 or 5 times, something like that. So again, I got you covered. There's always a deeper level. There's always more we can do. My goal is to get you as close to 100% clear on everything on that list by the time you finish this program. Now, before we finish up the introduction, I want to give you a few instructions on how to make best use of the program and then where we go from here. So remember, I would encourage you to take it more slowly. If you can limit yourself to 1 lecture and 1 block clearing per day, that's ideal. Now, the block clearings, once you've gotten them all clear, you can forget about it. You never have to come back to it. They are cleared forever. The lecture presentations, though, I would encourage you to go through 2, 3, 4 times. Why? They're densely packed with insights, information, and concepts. It's very difficult to retain it all from one listen. How you do it is up to you, but that's what I'd recommend. 1 lecture, presentation, 1 block clearing per day. If you go too fast, if you do too many block clearings at once, you may get a healing crisis. In that case, you may have a little bit of a headache, a little low energy. Don't worry about it. It'll resolve in a few days. It's like doing a workout at the gym and being sore. Not a big deal. But that's why I encourage you to go slowly, because there is no advantage to going really fast and giving yourself a healing crisis. There's really not. And so once you've gone through all of the lecture presentations and all 7 of the block clearing programs, you will have all the knowledge and have a profound amount of subconscious clearing to reset your inner happiness thermostat so you can achieve more happiness, more contentment, and more joy no matter what's happening around you for the whole rest of your life. But even after you finish the program, even after you clear the traumas and clear all the blocks, there's still always more to do. So if you haven't done so already, one of the bonuses you get with your 7 Steps to Happiness is a free ticket to my live Healathon webinar. I would love for you to join that because there's a lot of things I can do with you live that I just don't know how to encode onto the program. Specifically, I want to walk you through the quantum field entrainment process, the beaming or consciousness shifting, which many people start to see energy and auras with their open eyes, even past lives, sometimes on their first exposure. That is your immersion, your real experience of higher consciousness. Also on the Healathons, I do unlimited question and answer sessions, so I'll offer free coaching, and I offer free healings to anybody that attends. And so I encourage you to join. If you have friends or family that could use a little higher consciousness energy or healing, please, you can share them with that too. I will make it free to them as well. So if you're just going to do one thing after this program, make sure you get registered for the Healathon. Mark it on your calendar, show up. I think you'll have an amazing experience. Beyond that, I do have a few other major program releases in the similar format to 7 Steps to Happiness. One is 30 Days to Awakening, which is a step-by-step home study guide to your own profound spiritual awakening. There's also The End of Suffering, which builds on 30 Days to Awakening to show you how to eliminate suffering from your life. I also have 2 programs specifically created to help you get greater prosperity, make more money. One is called Unleash Your Inner Millionaire. The other is The Formula for Wealth. I even have a program all about relationships called In Love for a Lifetime. If you really want to dive deep, if you want to see results and transformations quickly, you can always reach out to me to see if I'm available for private sessions. I may or may not be. If I'm not available, I can hook you up with one of my students. I have some amazing advanced students who can do some wonderful work with you. Now, when you're ready for the real deep dive, if you are on track to really transform your life, I would strongly encourage you to check out my Secrets to Higher Dimensional Living. It's a weekend intensive. We have live rooms in Los Angeles, but you can also do the entire program online. And that's where I will immerse you in higher consciousness and take you deep into awakening with some special live exercises, as well as showing you how to do the block clearings and downloads and healings and space clearings and all that things. But you know what? For right now, start with 7 Steps to Happiness, get registered for the Healathon, and buckle your seatbelt, because you're in for quite a ride. With this technology, I know your life is going to take off, and you're going to be so glad that you started this journey right here with me today with 7 Steps to Happiness. That's all I got to say for the introduction. This is Brent Michael Phillips signing off for now, and I will see you in the main body of the program and guide you through your 7 Steps to Happiness. See you soon, and namaste.
I am Brent Michael Phillips signing off. We got lots more cool videos in this series. I know you're going to love. I know they're going to blow your mind. So click like, click subscribe, check out the playlist, and I will see you on the other side. Until then, take care and namaste.